Today, we hear from Rick all about his August Universal Orlando vacation. This is Go Inform Podcast, episode 70. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me for this episode 70 of the Go Inform podcast. My name is Maven, and I am the hostess here on the show. Super excited to be bringing you kind of part two of last time's show. Today, we get to hear from Rick to find out how his first trip to Universal Orlando went for him and for his family. I hope you guys got a chance to listen to episode 69, where we got to meet Rick and talk about what he was expecting for his upcoming trip. Rick is a longtime Disney World fan who even has his own podcast called Monorail Tales, but he had never been to Universal Orlando. So we spent a lot of time kind of going over a lot of those frequently asked questions that first-timers have for Universal. And if you haven't listened to that episode, I do recommend you pop back just one more notch in the archives and give that one a listen before you find out what really happened. So just to refresh your memory, Rick was traveling to Universal at the beginning of August with a family of 5 people, and they had 5-day park tickets at Universal. So lots and lots of time to take their time and explore. They stayed in the Royal Pacific Hotel on site, which meant that they got free included express pass with their room. And you're going to hear what, Rick's impressions were of the hotel and a lot about how Express Pass impacted their touring. A couple of other things that I think are really, really great in this episode are Rick's insights about dining and hanging out in City Walk, how to get from the hotel to the park. He has some really good tips there. And also, Rick's a big guy, and for big guys at Universal, sometimes there are some challenges, and he's really candid about how that impacted him. And I think it's instructive to a lot of people to just kind of get a heads up of how that might impact your trip. There are show notes for this episode, and those are at goinform.net/70. So if you want to kind of have some reference material to go along with what we talk about, be sure to head over to the website and check that out. Rick had a lot to tell me about his trip, so I am going to just jump right into it here. So here is me and Rick talking about his vacation.
So I went and checked in, and the process went really smoothly. Our room was already ready, and this was about noon.
Great.
So that was a real plus, and the lady that checked us in was super friendly. She took her time, explained everything. She showed me everything on the map because, we hadn't been there before. Showed us the best way to walk to the boats from where we were, the water taxis, and the front way to walk if we chose to do that. Showed me where all the restaurants were, explained where the pool was and the hours and the different activities that were going on. So I was really impressed. It was, I don't like comparing it to Disney, but it was, certainly Disney level, as far as what people expect. I mean, and she knew all kinds of things about Harry Potter. We talked about Harry Potter, and we talked about Jurassic Park. And then the next step, once we were checked in, was to get our tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And the line for that was as long as the line to check in.
Oh, no.
And it seemed really I guess it's just a busy time of the day, in between 12 and 4, people wanting to check in early, leave their luggage so they can get maybe a short day in at the parks. And so I got in the line for the tickets, and I texted my wife and told her what I was doing and said that she may want to send in our older daughter to hold my spot because the line looked really long while I come and help with getting a cart for the luggage. Mm-hmm. And by the time my daughter got in there, the line had moved pretty quickly because, again, it was whole families in the line. So what looked like 20 people was actually like 4 transactions. So the line moved pretty quickly, and we got our tickets, and they explained to us how the tickets work and where we use them and how we use our room key for the express pass. We went in our room, and it was very nice, as large as what we expected. It was 2 queen beds. They already had a rollaway bed in there for us.
Nice.
And so we just kind of got settled in, got our things situated, and it was about 2:00. We decided to go ahead and go to the parks.
Nice.
And we walked. It was a nice walk. We just kind of wanted to get a feel for it, because from our conversations before, you explained how it really is. Maybe it was less than 10 minutes to walk.
Nice. Good.
You go through security, and then once you hit City Walk, you're good to go wherever you want. And I really like that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. So we went to Islands of Adventure, and the first thing that we wanted to do was go ahead and get some lanyards to hold our tickets and passes. Mm-hmm. And we all wanted Harry Potter ones. And the big store in the front didn't have any.
Really?
They didn't have any Harry Potter lanyards.
Oh my gosh.
So I asked, and the lady said, we went to the Harry Potter section, and she said, well, if there are any, they'd be up at the front where the lanyards are. So we just went ahead and held on to them, and then it just started pouring the rain.
Oh no.
Pouring the rain. So we got 4 ponchos and an umbrella. And went into the park, and this was where I made a mistake. I've looked at the maps, but I didn't study the maps. So I knew if we went either way, we'd end up with the Harry Potter stuff, and that's what we really wanted to see first.
Yeah. But
we went right and went to Dr. Seuss World. Mm-hmm. And the theming for that was really extraordinary.
Isn't it?
Yeah. It was just like walking into the books. And it looked so fun. My kids wanted to go ahead and do some things there. And I didn't want to push anybody, to my agenda. So I was like, we'll just go ahead and, do what they want. Mm-hmm. So the first thing they wanted to ride was the carousel. Mm-hmm. And we got in line for it. We got on it, and then it shut down.
Oh no!
They said, we're having technical difficulties. You'll have to leave. So we got off that, and then we rode the Cat in the Hat ride. Mm-hmm. And that was really fun. I've never been a big Cat in the Hat fan. There's other Dr. Seuss books that I grew up reading. And it was just really fun. Mm-hmm. I'm familiar with the book, and my kids are too, because Dr. Seuss is a big thing for kindergarten, first, and second grades in our schools. So we read that. It was fun. My son wanted to ride the overhead train ride. But because of the rain, it was shut down. Yeah. So we decided to, go ahead. We walked back and got to Hogsmeade.
Nice.
And wow. The snow. Yeah. It was so cool. I was like, I really wish it was this cold right now because it was incredibly hot and steamy from the rain. But the crowds of people in that part of the park were astronomical.
Oh, at that time of day, especially.
It was like that every time we went in.
Oh,
the entire trip.
Wow.
But still, it was just amazing. So we walked through, we saw where Hagrid's was. The lines for butterbeer were huge. The line for Ollivanders was huge. The one store there.
Yeah.
And so we went straight to the castle and went to the Forbidden Journey.
Mm-hmm.
Put our stuff in the lockers, which it was really seemed unorganized right at that part, because the cast members were there where the line starts, and some of them were saying, you need to go to the lockers, and a lot of people I don't think understood that lockers were a thing. So we got to the lockers, and of course I didn't read the sign, and I was like, I thought they were free, and it made me pay $2 for it, but it's because we got a big locker.
Oh.
And once we got our stuff back out, I was like, oh, the small lockers are free. Right. The big lockers cost money. And there's no limit. Each ticket holder can get a small locker. So there's not really, unless you have something that won't fit. So we figured that one out pretty quick. The Express Pass, we went in. The queue is amazing. The pictures on the wall, talking and all that stuff is just like, wow, it's just like I'm really there. And we went through the line, and then we got to this one part, and the team member said, "Hey, I like your shirt," because I had one that said I'm a keeper, and it had Quidditch strings on it. I was like, "Hey, thanks." And he's like, "Do you mind coming here for a second?" I'm like, "No." And he said, "Well, you are kind of tall and broad-shouldered, so would you mind sitting in the test seat?"
Oh, right.
And because I'm a big guy.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, it's fine. Because I didn't realize that there's one out front. Or I probably would have done that.
Right. I forget that that's there.
Yeah. So I did that, and he said, unfortunately, we can't let you ride. And I was like, oh, are you serious?
Rick. Oh no.
And so I was like, he was really apologetic. I was like, don't worry about it. I'm not upset. It's just one of those things. And my wife and younger daughter were kind of iffy about riding it anyways, because they'd read it. It was intense. They were watching the videos and the line and stuff. And
right.
so they did. My son and my older daughter rode it.
Okay.
And they came out and said it was amazing. It was really intense. My son got scared a little.
It's scary.
Sickness, but he was kind of quiet when he got off of it. So it's a good thing that my wife and younger daughter didn't ride it, because my wife doesn't like really super intense things. My younger daughter gets motion sickness.
Okay.
So unfortunately I couldn't ride that, but I did get to go through the queue, and it was quite amazing. And I thought I might try it again later, which I'll get to that part, but we never did. We went to Fight the Hippogriff. I rode it with my older daughter, and my son. We went through the Express Pass line. Most of the ride times were 45 minutes or so, posted. We got through it 15 to 20.
Nice, because of the Express.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
great.
Most of the lines we didn't really, going back to Express Pass lines and standby, we didn't really miss out on a lot of the queue.
You really
for
don't.
Any of them.
Yeah.
So we did that, and it was really fun. And then I rode it again with my son and my younger daughter.
Oh, good.
And then they were getting kind of tired and hungry. We had a dining reservation at 6:30 at City Walk, but we wanted to go back to the room and freshen up because we were damp from the rain.
Right.
So we went ahead and left. And I think we may have pushed our kids just a little bit too far with not eating, because they got a little hangry on the way. And that's really, one thing you need to make sure you listen to the cues for your kids, because we were in a different environment.
Yeah.
And it's easy for us to get distracted because, we do go to Disney a lot and we don't get as distracted because we're so familiar with it.
True.
And we know where the food places are and we know what food places our kids like. So, that was just a little bit different. We did, get them a drink and a snack at Dr. Seuss, some cotton candy, which, there's better snacks we could have got, but,
it's quick. It's quick sugar too. That'll get them powered up for a minute anyway.
We went straight to dinner at City Walk. We didn't go back to our room.
Oh, so you just went straight to dinner from the park?
Yes. We wanted to go back to our room, but we didn't allow ourselves enough time to do it.
Okay, so you just went right to dinner after.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
okay.
That's one thing that we learned to take into consideration is factor in the time to go to and from if we wanted to go back to our rooms before, because all of our dining for dinner was at City Walk every night.
Okay.
So after the first night, we kind of rearranged things in our mind to make sure that we had time to get freshened up for dinner.
Okay.
Before we went back. And we ate at Bob Marley's.
Oh, how was that?
It was fun. It's a really neat environment. And my wife and I like Caribbean food.
Uh-huh.
So that was good. My kids weren't totally crazy. We looked at it. They had macaroni and cheese and chicken, which is usually what they eat. They weren't totally crazy about it, but it was fine.
Okay.
It is a really fun restaurant. And it wasn't very crowded. Then we went back to our room hoping to swim, and it rained. So with lightning, and they just kept it closed the whole rest of the night. So we weren't able to swim. The next morning, on Monday, we wanted to get an early start, because I know when we talked, you said if you're there 7:45, that's when they open up and people start going in. So, we knew how long the walk took. So we thought if we left a little bit before 7:30, we'd be all right. We were planning on taking the water taxis, and the water taxi had a line. So it's like, we'll just go ahead and walk. It's a quick walk. We'll get through. And that was our first big mistake because the line backed up so long for the security right there that we missed 7:45. We missed 8 o'clock. It was about 8:15.
Wow. Okay. That's a good lesson learned.
And, we saw 2 or 3 water taxis pass us while we were in that line. That was a lesson that we learned, if we wanted to go in the morning, to go ahead and just wait for the water taxi line, because chances are it would move fast because they only had one of the security metal detectors open.
Okay. Yeah. So that is a really good point. If you take the water taxi, you go through security when you get onto the boat,
Yes.
and it's only whoever's getting on the boat that's going through that security.
Right. Yeah.
So, and if you walk, you have to go through the security into City Walk, which may be just more people up there, right?
I know, you would understand what I'm talking about, but that big curve in the walkway where it goes around that, we were all the way back there.
Oh, wow.
When we started in line, and that's how long it took us to get, and, we could have left earlier, but we were just going by our afternoon experience walking there. And of course, there wasn't a line in the afternoon.
Right. Right.
We went to Universal Studios that day. It was still early. We knew that Harry Potter was open and the Minions ride. And they'd actually already started Rip Ride Rocket. Okay. So, our kids were hungry. We were planning on grabbing them some sort of, breakfast snack and then eating a lunch later. So my wife sat with the younger 2 kids, there on the big green space beside Rip Ride Rocket. And they had Olympic stuff, all over the place.
Oh, yeah. It was the Olympics.
Yeah. And NBC was a sponsor of the Olympics.
Right.
So everywhere we went, in Universal Studios. They had banners for the Olympics. At the NBC thing outside on City Walk, they had the huge screens with the Olympics on it.
Cool.
So my daughter and I rode Rip Ride Rocket, and wow, that was quite the coaster. It was fun.
It's pretty extreme.
It is. I mean, once we got on, and we're just going straight up in the air, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, oh my goodness!" Then when we go down, it's like,
it's like straight down,
yeah. And I picked out my music, and I was talking to my daughter afterwards. And I said, "What'd you listen to?" And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you're supposed to pick out your music." And she said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, there's a screen right in front of you." And so she didn't pick out her music.
Oh.
But I don't think she would have even heard it. I mean, that was quite the roller coaster. And then we rode Minions, which was really fun.
And how did your rest of your family do in Minions in terms of the motion and all that?
It was fine.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. We didn't have any issues the whole time with our daughter having any motion sickness.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. She got motion sick on the way home. But in the park, she was fine.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we were really pleased with that aspect of it, that even though she gets motion sick, that she wasn't on any of the rides.
Good.
While we were in the area, we went ahead and decided to do Shrek. Which our older daughter has seen Shrek. Our younger two kids had never seen it. So it's very tongue-in-cheek and pokes a lot of fun at Disney World.
Yeah, that's right.
Disney in general. And our younger daughter said, "Well, this is just a cheap knockoff of Disney." And we're like, "Well, yes, but that's the intention
right.
of it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's supposed to be. It's a parody of Disney."
Right.
But there was a team member in there who was really engaging with the audience, setting us up and, talking to the three little pigs and Pinocchio and all that. It was really fun. And he even made fun of Universal themselves, talking
funny.
about something about, I do this, but it's only a 15-hour job, so you get what you takers. It is just really funny. The show was really funny. It was different for my younger kids because they weren't familiar with it.
Right.
My older daughter and my wife and I really appreciated the humor of it.
Okay.
I guess you could say.
Right.
We could see the Simpsons area.
Oh, right.
From where we were. So my kids wanted to do that. So we headed that way. And this is where I was a complete muggle. I was like, the Harry Potter world's around here somewhere. And we just walked right by because we saw King's Cross.
That's fantastic. You could not see where to go.
Yeah, we saw King's Cross, and I knew how the mechanics of entering into Diagon Alley worked, but I thought that the entrance to Diagon Alley was part of the entrance to Hogwarts Express. So we just walked on by. Like, it's around here somewhere. I'm not quite sure. And when I figured it out, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I call myself a fan.
I just think it's one of the most clever designs
totally.
in a theme park, because it's right there. Like, once you know how you get into Diagon Alley, then But yes, you can walk right by. They have to have a cast member out there telling you where to go. Yeah, and it just makes it so much more. Gives you that moment of, in the movie when Harry first walks into Diagon Alley, you have that. Like, one of my favorite things to do in Diagon Alley is to stand on the other side of that wall and watch people come in and see their face, because it's totally magical. Yeah.
I wish I would have thought to do that myself. But I mean, my face is just like that the whole time. It's like, so we skipped Harry Potter. We went to Men in Black. And that was a really super fun ride.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of the kids enjoyed it. It was something that we did several times.
Good.
Yeah, they enjoyed it so much. We went to, and then we, naturally went over to the Simpsons area,
mm-hmm.
and we rode the Simpsons Ride. We got on it pretty quickly,
mm-hmm.
and it was really fun too. None of my kids have really watched the Simpsons, but of course they're familiar with them. And it was very, motion heavy
mm-hmm.
Screens. But again, my daughter was fine.
That's good to know. That's great.
Yeah. And by that time they were getting hungry. It was almost 11. And we went to Fast Food Alley right there.
Mm-hmm.
I looked it up, and it had burgers and chicken and
right.
seafood, and pretty much covered all the bases. So we went there. We had to wait till they opened, so we got in pretty quick. And they had a team member standing there asking which window we wanted to go to, because most of the people wanted to go to Krusty Burger.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to go to any of the other windows, they would let you. But if you want to go to Krusty Burger, you had to wait until it cleared up.
Okay.
So my wife and daughter went to Krusty Burger, and then they decided the wait was too long, so they went and got chicken. I got the seafood, and we got pizza.
Okay. So you guys got a kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And then we went over and got the drinks. One of my kids got a milkshake.
Nice.
I got the Buzz Cola,
which
is Simpsons themed diet soda with cherry in it.
Okay.
So, it was cherry soda, but it was kind of fun. My food wasn't that great. It seemed like it might have been left over from the night before.
Oh, no.
It just wasn't what I expected. My kids' food was fine. The chicken strips were good and their fries. But, it's theme park fast food. So
it is, yeah.
Like eating a Carlton Rays or anything else.
Yeah.
So the next thing we did after The Simpsons was we went back to Men in Black and rode it again.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're eating, I looked up the map and I saw what I did with Diagon Alley. I was like, oh. So we did Men in Black, and then we went to Diagon Alley and went through, and oh my gosh, that one just blew our socks off. Hogsmeade is impressive, but Diagon Alley, that was the real deal. Every inch of it was like walking into the movies, and of course there was so much from the books that wasn't in the movies.
Yes.
We were just standing there, and all these people are standing out with their cameras looking at the dragon. It's like, what are they doing? And all of a sudden it's like blows the fire, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So we didn't try to go on Gringotts then. We just kind of looked around Diagon Alley.
Okay.
Went in a couple of the shops, got some souvenirs, and then we went and we didn't do all of Anders because the line was very long. Mm-hmm. But we found Gregorovich's wands and went there, and they were very knowledgeable and friendly there. So the experience, even though it wasn't all of Anders, it was still, the wand, she's a wizard, and they were, the team member was able to tell us every wand who it belonged to.
That's
just
great.
Off the top of, and there are so many of them. We got the wands, and they
how many wands did you get between all of you?
7. But
you had 5 people.
Yeah, the story is that they're doing a special. If you would buy a gift card for $295, that you get a free non-interactive wand.
Oh, that's
which
cool.
Is a $65 value. So we went ahead and did 4, so each of the kids could have one, and then one for us to share.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, if you go ahead and get the gift card, because it was almost that much anyways, because the wands were $59.99.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really understand the $65 value for a non-interactive wand.
Yeah,
interactive
wondering
wands
too.
were $60.
Yeah.
But we went ahead and did that. I got the gift card, and we got those wands. And they said, just take your receipt and this gift card to the front of the park at either park, and they'll give you your wand there.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
We're like, hey. Yeah. So we had the 4, and then we got a snack. We went into Honeydukes.
Nice.
The candy store. We got one of our daughters a chocolate frog with the cards, and my son got some sort of lizard lollipop, and I got the unmeltable ice cream, which was really like frosting.
Okay,
that was fine with me because I like frosting.
That's fun.
It's joining to Weasley's Wizard Wheezes,
right?
So we went through that, and it's just like it's described in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Super fun. And then we're like, we want to go swimming because we did a lot, in those 3 or 4 hours. And we have learned over time not to push our kids too far.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that we had realized was with the Express Pass, we don't have to plan every detail. If we want to ride something, we just go in the Express Pass line and boom, you're done.
Right.
So it didn't matter. We figured that out pretty quickly, that we could just go do that. So we went to go swimming, and it started raining again.
Oh no. That same time of day, right?
This was about the 2:00 time.
Oh, earlier this time.
The day before it was in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't get to go swimming, and we took a water taxi. This was the first water taxi we took to City Walk. And we were like, well, the line was just because of the security, but the boats come really, it's about 15, 20 minutes. And so we're like, we'll definitely, try to take the water taxis as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, they close when the pools close because of lightning.
Oh, because of the weather. Oh, shoot.
Yeah. So we went to take the water taxi, and we couldn't. We had to walk again, and we ate at Big Fire. Food was good. It's burgers, steaks, things like that.
Okay.
And then for our dessert, they had a really fun thing. It's s'mores. So they bring out this little, little fire lighter, one of those butane lighters. I think that they use for caterers. Except it looked like a little grill, and they brought out marshmallows and chocolate bars and Reese cups, and we all had s'mores for dessert.
That sounds really fun.
And then we went around City Walk for a little bit, looked around, saw where Vega Donuts was, took the boat back. I think we were able to go swimming that night.
At last.
Yeah. But the first time we went swimming, I took the kids down. My wife is going to come down with our older daughter later. And we only got to swim for 10 minutes before they closed the pool down again.
Oh my gosh.
It rained a lot. And it's not the 3:00 Florida shower. It was just the Forbes family wants to go to the pool, so it's going to rain.
Exactly.
So the next day, my wife and I decided, with Express Pass being the way it is, there's not necessarily any reason for us to have to get our kids up super duper early, to do anything. Although we probably would have benefited from lower crowds at Harry Potter.
Right.
Obviously, that's where most of the people went anyways, in the morning. I said, I'm going to go early. I want to just go early, do some of the rides I know the younger kids won't want to do, like the big roller coasters. And I told my wife, I said, if you're up, you can go with me, or if Beth, our older daughter's up, she can go. But I want to go for a little bit while the kids are asleep, because I knew that they were tired and would sleep in later.
Yeah.
So I got up early, which I do anyways, and my older daughter was up. So we took the water taxi. We went to Islands of Adventure, and we went left to the Marvel area. And that's the first time that we'd seen that. And we're big Marvel fans. So it was like, it's different from the MCU because it's the comics, but it was like walking into that world. It was so cool. My daughter and I went to the Incredible Hulk coaster, and we rode that, and that was an amazing roller coaster.
Yeah.
I mean, it was intense. Like Rip Ride Rocket is a different one. Mm-hmm. It was actually sprinkling when we rode that. So I was kind of worried that they might shut it down, but they didn't, because there wasn't any lightning.
That's good.
So we got pelted by the rain.
Yeah, that's not really very fun, actually.
No. But I mean, the ride made up for it. We went and we did Spider-Man, which was really fun. Then we walked past the water ride.
Yeah.
We went and looked at the bilge barges.
Yeah.
And the people getting off of that, I mean, were drenched.
I know.
Drenched. And then, is it Ripsaw Falls?
Yeah.
They have that bridge there where you can see that. And it's like, holy cow. Those people were getting drenched.
Yeah. I warned you.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't think there's a dry seat on that. So we walked past that. That area is the comics, the toon.
Yeah, like the comic strips.
And that was, I mean, the theming at Islands of Adventure really was spot on in every land we were in. The theming at Universal Studios, not so much. I mean, I get the theme, except for Diagon Alley.
Right.
And the Diagon Alley and the Simpsons were really, super themed.
Yeah.
Universal Studios, it's themed to different cities.
Yeah.
Like San Francisco, New York, I guess. It's really good, but it wasn't anything that excited my kids.
Yeah, I could see that.
Even though they like the rides in Universal Studio better.
Okay.
The next thing we did was King Kong.
Oh, cool. What did you think of that?
It was like, wow. The screens, I mean, you couldn't even tell they were screens.
I know.
And we got to glimpse the queue line, and it had that animatronic there that we got to see. That was really cool. And then, of course, the Kong animatronic was like, wow.
That Kong animatronic in that ride that's at the end, I can't get over the size of it. And also because most of the ride has screens, the whole time, if I'm on that side of the vehicle, I'm like staring at that Kong, like, is that actually real or is it another screen?
Yeah, I sat on that side every time.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And then my wife had messaged me and said the kids wanted to get some lunch. And that's when we were coming back. They wanted to go to the pool. So I was like, well, we're headed that way. And my daughter and I got on Jurassic Falls.
So yeah, the Jurassic Park, the river.
Water ride.
Yeah.
And my daughter kept saying, is this water ride? I was like, I don't know. And she said, I think I might wear my poncho, because she had her poncho with her. Because I'm the one that got the umbrella because I don't like ponchos. So when we got there, she's like, this is a water ride, isn't it? I'm like, yeah.
Maybe at the end.
Yeah, she put on her poncho, and I just got in, and I got soaked.
Where were you guys sitting? Were you in the front, or were you?
We were towards the back.
And you still got soaked.
I was on the outside.
Oh.
She was, on the inside next to me. So, I just got wet on my left side. I wasn't like drenched head to toe.
Okay.
Because I also like covered my face to keep my glasses dry. But it was a really fun ride. It was like going through and actually seeing the dinosaurs. And
yeah, it's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Then we headed back. We got back to the hotel. We went swimming. Everybody was hungry. So we just got food at the pool bar.
Nice.
And that was probably the second best meal that we had the whole time.
Really?
Yeah. The burgers were really good. The fry, the kids enjoyed the fries, and it was a nice environment because we were just sitting there by the pool.
Yeah, that's nice.
But we actually enjoyed the food there better than we did at Big Fire.
Wow.
The night before. And they have themed burgers, it's like kind of tropical with like pineapple salsa and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. So we did that, went swimming for a while, and then we went back to Islands of Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
We took the water taxi so we could do a little bit of stuff before dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And then after dinner, we were going to go back to do some other, just whatever the kids felt like doing.
Mm-hmm.
So we went back to Islands of Adventure. We took the kids through the Marvel area. And my youngest daughter is a super Marvel fan. She thought that was the coolest place ever.
Cool.
We did Spider-Man again. And we did Kong.
Mm-hmm.
And
how were your younger kids on that? That's pretty intense.
We warned them that it was intense. The experience wasn't as good because the people in front of us, I guess they had no idea what they were in for.
Oh.
It was a man and a woman, a little girl, probably about 4 or 5, and a baby, like an itty bitty baby.
Oh no.
So, we go through the first cave, and that's no big deal. And then the second cave where things start coming out.
Yeah.
The lady starts screaming.
Oh my God.
And then in the second room where the next one where you first see Kong and I don't want to spoil it, but the other creatures and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, she was like screaming bloody murder. She like laid down in the lap of her husband or whatever. And it was like holding her baby. And it was like the little girl got pushed out in front of her. It's like, take her. And then all of a sudden on the speakers, the team member said, everybody needs to stay seated in their seats and not move.
Right.
And when I looked up, I mean, the woman and her daughter had switched seats. I don't know how they did it. So they had stopped the ride.
Oh,
so
man.
When we got to the next scene, after the drop, not a real drop, but the simulated drop.
Yeah.
Everything is black.
Oh.
There was nothing on the screens, but the car was still like bumping back and forth.
My God.
And my daughter and I knew what was going on,
right,
or what should be going on. But my family didn't. And then we have the animatronic, and we come out, and there's these people behind us apparently go often, local, and they're saying, if that was my first time on this ride and I waited 70 minutes to get on, I'd be very upset.
Yeah. That's where you ask the crew members to give you another chance to ride again.
So, and that's what my wife said. You think they would have offered us something. I said, well, I think if we would have said something that they would have.
You have to ask. You almost always have to ask.
The ones that are there when you come out wouldn't have any idea of what went on.
Right.
But we weren't too concerned about it because we had plans to go to dinner, and we walked back through Hogsmeade, and we brought our wands. So we were going to try the wand work. Yeah. And that was very challenging. The first one we tried, we got it done. A team member came up and kind of explained things to us, which was great. The thing that made it the hardest was the crowds. So
Okay.
almost everyone had a line to do it. And then, of course, if you're struggling to do the wand work and there's a line of people behind you, you feel this pressure to,
Yeah.
To either get it done or get out of line. So somebody else, because you don't want to, we didn't want to take up all this time trying to do something. Each one of us, because we each had wands, where there are other people waiting. So if we would have done anything differently, we wouldn't have bought so many wands, just because it was hard to get, I think, the value out of it. Just because Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley were so incredibly crowded.
Wow.
But it was fun. It still, we got to see people do the spells, because some people could just go up and do it.
Yeah.
And, we got the butterbeer. I prefer cold. My wife and kids prefer frozen.
Okay.
But they were both good. We got butterbeer, and it was time for dinner. So we headed out of the park, and that night we went to Hard Rock. And that restaurant was really good.
Good.
The food was good. And wow, it is an impressive space. I mean,
isn't it?
You can tell it's big from the outside, but when you go inside, it's like enormous.
Yeah, it's like literally a museum in there, and there's so many things. There's a full-size Cadillac over the bar that's rotating.
That's like what Elvis drove.
Yeah, exactly. It's like so many things to look at while you're in there. It's amazing.
Yeah, so that was super fun. On the way there, we stopped and got the free wand.
So
I just showed them the gift card and receipt. They punched a hole in it, so I couldn't do it again.
Okay.
And they had a selection of wands, which were, they were all similar to the interactive ones. They just weren't. And then after dinner, we went to Universal Studios. And that's another great thing about Universal, is that it's all right there.
Yeah.
So we went from Islands of Adventure to dinner to Universal, and it's like we didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, you were already
steps.
You were gonna walk past that restaurant on your way to the other park anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So we went in. It was getting Universal Studios closed at 9 every night, and Islands of Adventure closed at 10 every night. So we were like, we're going to try to do one attraction. We decided to do the Mummy. And my wife was like, nope. So my son and older daughter went on the Mummy. And I'd read some descriptions. Somebody said that the Mummy was like a 6 out of 10 on a thrill ride scale, and that it was really similar to, I want to say, Rise of the Resistance.
Okay.
But it's not.
No, I wouldn't.
Like Rise of the Resistance.
No.
Nothing at all. So, we went in. My son was a little nervous, and it starts out, kind of like going through scenes and stuff.
Right. And then it's not.
And then all of a sudden you get thrown backwards like Frozen.
Yeah.
That's it. It is compared to Frozen.
No, I mean the beginning, I guess, but not
and then you
the
get
roller coaster part.
That's where it stops.
Yeah.
Then it becomes Rock and Roller Coaster.
Exactly. Pretty much.
My son was like terrified, and my older daughter was screaming, and he was crying. He said, "Please stop screaming. You're stressing me out."
Oh no.
So I bought that picture because his face was just like, oh. And when he saw his mom, he was fine when we got out. We were in the gift shop and stuff, because my daughter wanted to get something, and we were looking around, and I got something, and he was fine. The team member that checked us out asked about him. She said, "Is he all right?" I said, "Yeah, he's fine. Nice. It's just really intense riding. We weren't quite expecting that."
Yeah.
And then she was like telling me about Hagrid's or no, about Gringotts. Because that was what I read compared to Pirates of the Caribbean.
No, I don't know where you're reading these things,
I
Rick.
know. It's like I read the totally wrong article. And which, I mean, I wasn't really looking for any. I was just trying to see if it's something my kids would like.
Yeah.
You'd be okay with. She explained how everything worked in Gringotts, and no spoilers, but you kind of explained the beginning of it to me.
Yes. Okay.
And then said it kind of ends as a dark ride.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciated her taking the time to do that. Mm-hmm. We went out and found my mom and other daughter, and he started crying. He's like, oh. And they were at Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, how'd you like that?
They wrote it. And
they wrote
it. They said it was so fun.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, okay, we'll make sure that we do it next time we're here. I said, let's get on the Hogwarts Express.
Right.
And go that way to Hogsmeade, because Universal Studios is closing. Mm-hmm. We got through at like 8:59.
Nice.
Actually, we rode ET.
Oh, you went over and rode ET first. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we rode ET. That was super fun.
Mm.
It's mine and my wife's childhood.
Right.
And our youngest daughter loved it. She thought it was so fun.
Good.
I thought it got kind of weird at the end, where it veers away from the movie. But it was a fun ride. And it's like, okay, we got 10 minutes to get to Hogwarts Express. Because I assume that if you're in line, they let you through, but
mm-hmm.
at 9 o'clock, they shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
So we got through at 8:59. The line was very long, because apparently a lot of people had the same idea.
Right.
But going through King's Cross Station and then the platform 9 3/4, that was just so cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I was like, there are people standing there watching and taking videos and stuff, and the cast members like, please keep the line moving. you can't stop.
And you're like, no, I want to stop.
Yeah. So I took my video after that, but the other people got out of the way. The line was extremely long in the station, but we got through on the second train. I think it has a big throughput. We only waited like 3 minutes for the second train. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's I don't know how
fast.
many they have running, but it's more
I don't know.
2 or maybe 3.
What did you think about that train from the outside, seeing the Hogwarts Express?
Wow. Just like the movie. There are so many people that were like, oh my gosh, taking the pictures and selfies with it.
Totally.
And we got in, and they are combining parties.
Okay.
So there was a person with us who got in, and he was just on his phone the whole time talking to somebody.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we still got the effect with the Dementor and Harry and Hermione and Ron talking on the outside, and it is really fun. By the time we got over there, it was pushing closing time, because of the line to get through.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the quick time saver that I thought it might be.
Good. That's a good tip.
So we didn't really do anything. We didn't do any attractions. We just walked back through and looked at Hogwarts Castle. They were doing the show. Yeah,
they do that. They're doing the projection show on the castle.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of people in Hogsmeade on what was this, a Tuesday night at 9:30?
The Hogsmeade part?
Yeah, when you got over there.
There weren't as many people.
Uh-huh.
Everybody was like at Hogwarts Castle.
Yeah, okay.
Watching the show.
Okay. So you got a little bit more close. You could have a little more room walking around.
Yeah, we were able to get through. It wasn't as crowded. The other times it was wall to wall people.
Yeah. Wow.
Totally crazy.
Yeah.
I would say, if I had to guess, at least 40% of the park attendance was in that one area.
Yeah.
And the other 60 was spread out across the whole park.
Okay.
It was just really busy. So we just walked back through, took the water taxi back. My daughters and I went to Vega Donuts to get breakfast, and the line for Vega Donuts was extremely long. It probably took us about 45 minutes to go through the whole process of getting in line until we left with our donuts.
All right. So that's the end of the night when you went?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's probably a lot of people that are like, oh, I need a little sugar before the night ends.
Yeah. And that's a fun place too.
Isn't it?
And the donuts were so good.
Yeah.
They were even good the next morning.
Good.
The next morning, that was our adventure outside of the park. Our kids like breakfast. They like sausage and bacon and scrambled eggs and stuff that you don't necessarily get in theme parks.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, let's just go out because there's so much around us. And we went to IHOP on International Drive.
Uh-huh.
And that was quite an experience.
Was it? Why?
Yeah. It was just like very crowded. There were lots of people. It's there. You could tell everybody's tourists. It was right across the street from, is it Endless Summer?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
So there were people walking across the street coming over there to eat breakfast. And it was just a long wait for the food. It was fine. It was just, we're not used to going out of our experiences.
Yeah. Okay. It took you out of the whole thing.
And I'm sure we could have found a place that, like the Today Cafe, I think, would have been a good choice to eat breakfast if we wanted to stay in the park.
Right.
But we went to the outlet mall, a couple miles away, and did that. Then we went swimming, and then headed back to the parks. We went to Universal Studios first, and we did Transformers. Of course, we walked right on by the Mummy. My son didn't want to have anything to do with that. We went to the San Francisco Wharf and saw Bruce, the shark hanging there.
Yeah.
Which was fun. We did Transformers. Like I said, it's the exact same ride vehicle as Spider-Man, but different characters. It's a different experience. Even though it's the same in appearance, the ride is totally different and very fun. We enjoyed it a lot. The next thing we did was the Fast and the Furious, which I'd read is probably, I read it was a bad ride, not fun, but the kids wanted to try it, so we went through the line. The ride vehicles look exactly the same as Kong. Oh yeah, except the Kong rides are kind of like safari trucks.
Right.
This is like a city bus. I don't know if it was staffing or mechanical problems, but they were very slow with loading people onto those vehicles. They're like Kong. They would open up the gates and everybody would go on at one time.
Yeah.
On this, they loaded people row by row.
Oh, wonder why.
I don't know, but it took us quite a while to get on the ride.
Huh.
And then the first part of it was kind of like, what are we watching? The party scene and stuff.
I agree. I don't get it.
What? And then, once you get into the action part, it was fine. It's fun. So we did that. And then we did Jimmy Fallon as a family. That was a fun ride. We laughed a lot.
Yeah.
On the whole trip. And then we went back to King's Cross and took the Hogwarts Express to Islands of Adventure because our dinner reservation was at Toothsome.
Oh, okay.
Which is right beside Islands of Adventure. So I was like, well, let's just cut through there, ride it again because it's such a fun ride.
Yeah. And this time, did you have someone no one was on the phone?
It was just us this time.
That's so much better.
Yeah. So it was just us and it was fine. We didn't have that interruption.
Nice.
We went and rode Flight of the Hippogriff again, walked back through the Marvel side again,
Okay.
because my daughter likes it so much. And then we went to Tucson,
Mm-hmm.
and my wife and kids said that was the best meal of the trip.
Okay. Wow. Great to know.
Have you ever eaten there?
I've eaten there just for milkshakes. I've
Yeah.
never actually eaten a whole meal there.
It was good. The thing that sticks out in our mind were the milkshakes.
They're amazing and
They're amazing.
gigantic.
I got a sundae,
Uh-huh.
and it was huge. And of course, we didn't finish any of it.
I know.
The restaurant itself was so fun and themed. We sat on the second story.
Cool.
And they had these huge screens of, like a factory.
Uh-huh.
So, it's like you're in a chocolate factory.
That's so cool.
And then after we ate, we just walked over to Universal Studios. My daughter and I wanted to do Gringotts.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife was taking the younger kids back to E.T. and the Simpsons Ride.
Okay.
That's what they wanted to do. So my daughter and I went through the Gringotts queue, which was amazing. I wish I had my phone on me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just wanted to take the pictures of it so bad.
Yeah.
And I didn't have anything in my pocket. I didn't have my wallet or my phone because I forgot to say that we rode Hagrid's.
You forgot to tell me you rode Hagrid's?
Yes. We got a virtual queue. I actually got one the first day we were there.
Uh-huh.
But the time was right before our dinner. So we were worried about missing the reservation. So we ended up dropping the virtual queue. But they had a test seat out front, because after my first experience not riding something, I found an article for tips for plus size people at Universal because it's not as poo size friendly as Disney World is, which is really my only complaint, but I understand the types of rides that they are. So we were going to we were getting ready to go online, and I asked a team member, I said, do you think I'll be able to ride this? He said, well, you can try the test seat out. And as you know, there's two different types of seat. One is the motorcycle, one is the sidecar. And he said, you'll want to ride in the sidecar because there's a little bit more room. And he said, what you need to do is stand up right up to the lap bar and then sit down and take it with you. That was his tip. So that way you're not trying to adjust it to you. It's just kind of with you. So I did that, and he was like, it's almost there. Do you got anything in your pockets? And I was like, I got my phone. So he undid it, and I took out my phone and wallet and did it again, and it worked fine. So he's like, all right, you're good to go. So I went and got a locker and put my wallet and phone in it. And my daughter, it was just my daughter and my youngest son and me. My other daughter and wife were sitting around waiting for us. And so we went through the queue down through the bowels of the castle or whatever. And that was fun. There was another party of 3 in front of us, but they didn't speak English. It was a man and 2 young daughters. So the team member said, okay, 2 of you will ride together, and then one of you will have to ride with one of them from our party. He seemed to indicate that his daughters would ride together. So the team member said that he was going to ride with me because my son wanted to ride with my daughter. Looking back, my son would have rode with me because then I wouldn't have run into the problem, because I was like, I have to sit in the motorcycle seat because that's what I tested for. The team member said, there's just not as much room, and especially if you're tall. Because your knees end up at your eyeballs. I was trying to get to him to ask him if I could get in first. Because they were like, the motorcycle person gets on the right of the line.
Yeah, right.
And he was like, all over the place. And then all of a sudden he goes off with one daughter, and his other daughter is with me, and she gets on first on the motorcycle part. And I'm like panicked. I'm like, oh no. Because, I didn't get a chance to even try to squeeze in beside her, and I didn't want to freak her out or anything because she's just a little girl.
Right.
So I'm like, I get in and I'm like, I'd sit the same way like they said. I don't have anything in my pockets. And I'm there and the team member comes up and said, "You're almost there. It's just another half an inch. Can you do anything?" I said, "I didn't test on this. I'm trying to do whatever I can." And then he said, "Can you move your legs forward?" Because I had them like squashed up to the back, and I moved my legs forward and they were able to get it down. So,
oh, wow.
Because, I'm 6'1". Anyway, so it's like,
You're in that little sidecar.
Yes, and that little girl's up on the other side, and they don't speak English. So I can't really, converse with her.
Right.
And she's like with a strange man. So I felt bad for her. And then when we go around the curve before it starts, we stop and we're sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to come and ask me to get off the ride. Something happened. Why can't I sat in the motorcycle part? But it started and the ride was amazing. It was so much fun. And I got, I was able to ride it. So I was like, yes.
That's great. That is so great.
And that day with our virtual queue, the time that it gave me was like 1:00. That didn't work with our plans because we went to the outlet malls and stuff. So I adjusted it back to 4:30. But every time, I guess it was just a really slow day at the park because every time I checked it, they had moved it up.
Oh, weird. Wow.
Yeah, it moved from like 4:30 to 3:30, and then I moved it back. And then it moved back up, and then I moved it back. And I kept having to do that all day because I didn't want to take a chance of, after the first time I watched it because I didn't want to take a chance of it.
Yeah.
And the virtual key was available most of the day. I mean, people were still able to get it later, 4:30.
That's really amazing.
But that was the only day that was like that. The other days, it was like, if you didn't get it first thing in the morning, you're out of luck. So I rode that. Fantastic ride. It really, the animatronics on it and just the experience of being on the motorcycle and the surprise at the end.
Yeah.
It's quite the ride.
Yeah, it's a great coaster.
Yeah. So, but then going back to Gringotts, we went through the queue. One thing I know, when we were in the room before the elevators, they have the screen with the Goblin and Bill Weasley. And that actor, he is in two of the biggest rides in Orlando because he's also General Hux from Rise of the Resistance.
He is? I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
No
in the one,
way.
He's got the long hair and he's kind of chill and fun. And then, General Hux, he's like,
okay, that is a
hair.
piece of trivia I never realized. That's amazing.
So it's like, he's in the two biggest rides in Orlando right now. And so we go up the elevator. They put us on the back row. And they can't get the thing buckled all the way for me. Which I'd read that the Mummy and Gringotts, their cars are the same, except Gringotts has a little slightly smaller seat, or the shin guards.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I was able to ride the Mummy. So I was really hoping I'd be able to do Gringotts, but I wasn't able to.
Oh, shoot.
And it was like 8:50, 8:55 when we got to the line, and the cast member, very apologetic. He had a stack of Express Pass single-use ones.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person that they've had to turn away.
Yeah.
But he had a stack of them. He said, "Here are these. I don't know if you'll have time to use them tonight. And I'm very sorry, but, I was like, don't worry about it." Because we have Express Pass anyways. It's like, it was just a disappointment we didn't get to ride the ride because my daughter didn't ride it.
She didn't ride it.
Because I couldn't ride it. So we met up with the family and we decided not to go to Islands of Adventure that night. We just went ahead and went back to our room because we had to, get ready, pack up the next day.
That's right. Next day was your
Thursday
last
was
day.
our last day.
Yeah.
And we planned on getting an earlier start because later that day we were going to Disney World, to stay for a couple of days. So that day was really just hitting all the favorites again. We did the Storm ride in the Marvel area, which is like teacups on steroids. We did that twice. My kids love the teacups. I can't.
Yeah.
If I keep my eyes shut, I can do it okay. So that's
really,
yeah. And I was holding the wheel to keep us from spinning, and I made it through. We did Spider-Man again. That's the day we read Kong the second time. Had the correct experience, and then we took the Hogwarts Express from Hogsmeade to King's Cross because we knew it was a different story. Yeah, that was fun. It was a good way to wrap up the Harry Potter stuff for us. Then we rode E.T. one more time for the kids, and Men in Black,
right,
and Simpsons.
Cool.
We're hitting all the favorites. So we did Men in Black, Simpsons, and E.T., and then we got on the water taxi. Took our obligatory goodbye Universal photo in front of the Universal Ball, which they had lots of good photo opportunities, and got in the car and drove to Boardwalk.
Well, at least you didn't have to go straight on the freeway home, because you guys gave yourself that soft landing by planning a couple nights over at Disney on the at the end.
That really, I think it helped us on the last day because we were just able to, like I said, we focused on the favorites.
Yeah.
All the favorite things that the kids wanted to do again, that they enjoyed the most. And that's where, we've talked about Express Pass so many times, but having the Express Pass is the biggest time saver, the biggest tip. I know when we talked before, we discussed the pricing, and the Express Pass adding Express Pass at a cheaper resort ended up in a much larger overall bill than staying at Royal Pacific and having it included. So I know that's one of your number one tips, and I would wholeheartedly agree. Price it out, see what the difference is, and if you can afford it, do it, because it makes all the difference. The lines that we saw when we were walking past, some of them were just incredible.
Yeah. And you guys, what's the longest you waited in an express line, do you think?
The longest we waited was, I think it was for the Fast and the Furious. Yeah.
Oh, just because it was going so slow?
Yeah, but the Express Pass and the regular line join up pretty early. So there wasn't, the Express Pass, we just whipped right through it. And then when we got in the line with everybody, that's when it was the longest. But as far as the actual Express Pass part, the longest was probably 20 minutes. And most of them were 10 or less. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes such a difference. Like you said, just in planning, you didn't have to worry about it. You could just kind of go where you wanted to go.
Didn't have to worry about it.
Did you ride the Velocicoaster?
No, we were going to try it, but after not riding 2 rides already, I was like, I don't even want to try.
Just let it go.
Yeah, which is fine. I wasn't disappointed because we did so many other things.
You guys pretty much covered everything. And there's next time.
Yeah, I've lost 60 pounds over the past year.
That's awesome.
And I intend on working to lose some more weight. So, that's just going to be one of my incentives.
For sure. That's a great goal.
I'll lose some more weight, and then I'll be able to ride Gringotts and ride the Forbidden Journey and Velocicoaster. I don't know when we're going to go back to Universal, but we will go back to Universal.
Excellent. So you guys had 5-day park tickets. So you stayed there for, almost a week. So when you go back, do you think you're going to do like that kind of a length of a trip again? Or how do you think it might look like next time?
That's one thing that my wife and I talked about. If we had it to do it over, we would make it a shorter trip. It was fine the way it was because we had the freedom to do the rides that our kids really liked several times. But we have decided that in the future, we will either do 1 or 2 nights.
Okay.
Because if we just strictly wanted to go do all the rides that we wanted to do, we could do them in 1 or 2 days easily with Express Pass. So we will definitely stay in one of the 3 resorts. I think the next time we'll probably try the Hard Rock. But like I said, do 1 or 2 nights because a 1-night stay is 2 Express Passes.
Yep.
And we could do so much. And it worked out fine because that was our first time and we were able to walk around and experience the theming and just kind of soak it in.
Yeah.
And have fun with it. So there's definitely no regrets about the length of the time that we stayed there. But every trip that we go on to Disney World, or my goal is, have we learned anything on this trip that we would do differently or try to apply to a new trip? So that's what we learned, is that we've been there and we've absorbed the newness of it. So in the future, we could do 1 or 2 night trip and be completely satisfied with the experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that you guys had so much time for your first time there, because you could tell by your pace, you weren't having to rush. You didn't have to get up early every day,
Yeah. And that really helped with our kids because they're not early people right now.
Right. So, but if you just have a couple days, then you guys can kind of, go wall to wall and go early and stay late because it's only for a few days. But so it's nice, I think, a nice pace for your first time.
Yeah. And again, the benefit of them being so close, everything being so close together can hardly be overstated. I mean, the time savings of going from park to park at Universal compared to park at Disney World is night and day.
Yeah. Is that the thing that surprised you the most? So what were you most surprised about?
The thing that surprised me the most was how much I enjoyed the theming in the lands that had the theming. The Simpsons, and of course Diagon Alley. I mean, it still just blows me away. It's burned into my memory. Just walking in there and looking up and seeing the dragon on top of Gringotts, and they had Celestina Warbeck singing a show, which is from the books, and they had the Frog Choir. My daughter and I went to Nocturne Alley.
Yes,
where all the dark wizard stuff is. It was lots of fun. And that one thing that surprised me is that Slytherin apparel is extremely hard to find.
I wonder why.
Well, the last day I asked because my wife is a Ravenclaw, my daughters and I are Hufflepuffs, and our youngest son is a Slytherin. So, he got some Slytherin pins because he likes pin collecting, but the shirts were few and far between. He wanted a Slytherin baseball hat. They didn't have any. So the last day I asked, is it me or is it just really hard to get Slytherin souvenirs? And she said, well, there are a lot of Slytherins in Orlando. And whenever we get the stuff in, it just falls off the shelf.
That's funny.
But, she said that we could go online and order it. We did find a shirt that he liked the last day.
Okay.
He got that, but he never got his baseball hat.
Next time.
Lots of Hufflepuff stuff, lots of Ravenclaw, lots of Gryffindor. But if you're a Slytherin, it's hard to find. So I would recommend going to Etsy first and
there you go.
getting some things to take with you.
Okay. Is there any other tips or anything that you want to pass on?
Don't be afraid of the lines at the water taxis, especially first thing in the morning, because the morning that my daughter and I went early and took the water taxi, the line for security on the walkway was just as long as it was the day before when we went. And I would recommend getting the park to park ticket wholeheartedly, because there were so many attractions in both parks that appealed to my family that we could just go back and forth without a second thought. And that's the only way to do the Hogwarts Express pass at premier resorts, park to park tickets, and don't be afraid to go to different parks. My kids talked about Volcano Bay when we saw it, but we didn't really miss it.
Okay. You can maybe another trip.
Yeah, maybe not, especially the way it rained.
Well, I was thinking that too. I'm sure that a lot of those rides were closed.
Yeah, my wife said if we would have had tried to take the time to go to Volcano Bay and it rained the way it did, it would have been very disappointing.
Yeah.
Because if the water taxis are shut down because of the lightning and the pool shut down because of the lightning, so is Volcano Bay.
Yeah. Right. Good point.
And it's the general rule of thumb, what I was told when I asked, was half an hour after the last strike of lightning or thunder. You could be waiting a while.
Yeah.
Because all it takes is, you think it's cleared up and you hear one more thunder after the sun's out. Oh, no, we got to wait another half an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. The weather, especially that time of the year, the weather can really be a factor.
So,
oh my gosh. Well, thanks for telling me all about your trip. It sounds like it was so great.
Yeah, we had lots of fun. We spent lots of money, lots of new souvenirs.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, I can't wait until you go again, because this has been really fun to hear, all your adventures.
Yeah. And my family and I, we listened to the pre-trip report on the way down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they were able to hear our conversation and the tips and tricks that you had suggested. And, we certainly put them into use.
Well, I'm glad that it worked really well for you. Sounds like overall you guys had a really good experience.
Yeah. Even with the rain, we still were able to do so many things. And we did end up spending quite a lot of time at the pool. And it was a fun break for the kids.
Good.
We weren't afraid to spend time at the pool because we knew that we didn't have to worry so much about planning on getting everything done at the park. Again, because of our Express Pass.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It is an amazing tool.
Okay, guys, I hope you found that to be really interesting and informative, and also just, I felt anyway, really excited to hear how Rick and his family's vacation went. Sounds like it was a great trip, and they really got to do a lot of things. Very cool. And especially those last tips that Rick gave us at the end, super, super helpful. So if you want to hear more from Rick, be sure to check out the podcast that he co-hosts, which is called Monorail Tales. And you can find that wherever you have listened to this episode. And you can even hear me on Monorail Tales with Rick and his co-host Sheila on episode 185. So check it out. On social media, you can find Rick at Magic in the Hills, and also look for Monorail Tales on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter. And you can connect with them over there. Don't forget the show notes for this episode are at goinform.net/70. And you can follow me on Pinterest, Facebook, and Instagram at goinformnet. So please come over, join me, interact. The show on Instagram, we're almost to 1,000 followers. So one of you could be the one to put it over the top. Thank you guys for following me on all those social accounts. It is really nice to see you over there. And thanks again to Rick for sharing so much information about his trip to Universal Orlando and for being such a great guest on the show. I look forward to having him on the show again soon. And thanks to you for listening, and I'll catch you next time.